We are live. We are talking touchdowns. JC Zargo coming to us from a different location today, but I'm happy to have you with me here today to talk about these exciting divisional round games. I've been a Debbie Downer all week, JC. I've said I don't know how competitive these games are going to be. I've got plenty of pushback, so I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
What do you think of the upcoming divisional weekend overall before we dive in and break these down game by game?
Well, I mean, number one, I just think we got a great set of games here. I don't think it's maybe as lopsided as these spreads would indicate. I think we're going to have some high quality football played this weekend. And truth be told, I mean, I'm happy to be alive right now. I woke up this morning and it was 10 degrees and there was snow on the ground. And look at me, by this afternoon, I'm talking to my man Spread Astaire and I'm enjoying 72-degree weather in Phoenix, Arizona. So life's good. I'm ready for some good football. Just giving up the good vibes. And, I'm ready to break this down because I think there's some gems that we can find.
All right. Well, let's try and find them. It's funny. I didn't really have a losing weekend financially last weekend, but I was so heavy on the Cowboys. It felt like I lost, even though my account's the same, right? Because I won on the Texans. We had the under on the Chiefs game. Lost 2 units on the Cowboys because I was involved 2 ways. So essentially broke even, but it felt like a huge loss for me, JC, just because I was simply so wrong in my conviction. And maybe that's good. Maybe that will lower my confidence a little bit, make sure that I'm exploring all the angles of these games. And that's what I'd like to do with you right now. The Houston Texans are plus 9.5. The total is 43.5. So the theme of Saturday's games is going to be rest versus rust. And this happens every year. This isn't something new. This is not a new situation for us to handicap in football. This is constantly something that we do in the divisional rounds. Back in my day, you just slam the favorites.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore. Because of parity, because of the salary cap. You can't simply do that. So you can't discount these teams. Looking at the line when it came out, this plus 9.5, JC, I thought it was a little high. I ran my numbers though, and it came out to 10. So I said, okay. And then I also thought, you know what? If they put it at 6.5 or 7, they'd probably take too much Ravens money. I think they have a good number here for us to make arguments on both sides. Right now, even though my projections give me a slight edge to the Ravens, I think I like taking the points here with the Texans. And I know out of all the sides in total, I actually like the under as my favorite play for this game. However, I have yet to commit. These divisional lines are much more stable. I don't feel the pressure that I do during the regular season to get my bets in on Tuesday. We're not having these runaway numbers. I have plenty of time to think about it. So I'm ready here. I have open ears, and I want to know what you think. I lean the Texans. I lean the under. What are your thoughts?
Wow, man. I don't know how you could be on the under. So I'll start right there. I mean, you just look at these two high power offenses, and while there certainly are concerns with Texans going up against a team like Baltimore, I think regardless, we're going to have a high scoring game here because Baltimore themselves could put up 40 if need be to cover it. So that's where I'm at on the total. As for the game itself, man, I've been struggling with this because here's how I see Saturday going. Right, we got 2 juggernauts, both 9.5-point favorites. One of them will cover easily. It won't be a sweat. One of them will blow out their opponent. The other one will lose, and I believe it's going to be straight up as well. And putting my money where my mouth is, I'm liking the Texans money line this weekend.
Wow. Okay. So Tyler's not here with us right now, but he agrees with you.
Yeah, he likes good.
He likes the Texans money line as well.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'll probably do like 2 units on the over, or like 1.5 units on the over, a unit on the plus 9.5, and like half a unit because that's just such a big number, and I don't want to be totally screwed if I'm wrong on this one because obviously it's a bold prediction with a bold payout. But statistically, throughout sports, rush is always real. Like it is always worse than rest. So we got that to worry about. And man, it just feels like that kind of spot. We've been saying Niners, Baltimore, Super Bowl for weeks and weeks. And I even got the future on it. So like I'm not saying I'm not one of those guys, but it seems like whenever we have that level of talent and that kind of juggernaut, it seems like one goes down early. And looking at these two teams, looking at their opponents, seeing what we saw from CJ Stroud last week, which nobody expected, I don't know. I just feel like, and given the history of these teams, right? San Francisco's the team that wins. They were in the NFC Championship. Baltimore, they're kind of choke artists. They're not quite on that Dallas level, but they're just a team that hasn't been able to get it done when it matters. So if when we're talking about this on Monday, whether or not you bet it, you're going to look back and go, yeah, I should have probably seen that come in. Baltimore, they're a regular season team. So that's why I really like the Texans this weekend.
All right, a couple counters here. I'm not saying I'm placing a bet on Baltimore here, but we're going to argue and go back and forth. Skip Bayless sent me a DM, got me fired up, right?
Awesome.
Number one, everybody's a choke artist until they break through, right? So this happens to most teams. I'd say more in the NBA than the NFL, but only one team wins every year. And most teams need some playoff failure, and they need to build on that before they get better. So, you're going to say, oh, well, Lamar is 1-3 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What do you think is more predictive, his performance in 2018 in the playoffs or his performance this regular season? Because he's a much better player now. He's 1-3, but his accuracy has improved so much. His ability to read the field has improved. And he also has a better feel of when to run and when to just simply use his athleticism in order to make a play. And I felt that's been the greatest development in him becoming an MVP caliber player is he doesn't just tuck and run. He has a better feel of when to pull a Mahomes, uses mobility to make a move, but rather than putting his head down and running, finding players downfield. My other concerns with the Texans is, of course, the easier schedule that they played. I believe the AFC North was much tougher than the AFC South. So while the Texans play good, how much of this is run good? How much of this is schedule? How much of this is 2022 Philadelphia Eagles, where they get the nicer defense, and then they got a Cleveland team who I was pounding the table last week. Hey, this defense is elite at home. It's kind of like a starting pitcher with a 500-foot center field, right? A little bit has to do with the home. And also, Joe Flacco, while this is a great story, we saw this 3 or 4 times this year where players that aren't, starting caliber, Josh Dobbs, right? He looked fantastic for 3 or 4 weeks, kind of regressed. Zach Wilson had a couple games where he looked pretty good. You say, oh, now I see why he got drafted number 2, right? Overall, he's not that good. It felt like Flacco regressed to the mean. And if we didn't have that little scenario where Flacco came in, like just imagine Deshaun Watson played the whole way, and then Flacco, this was his only start that we'd saw. We'd say, yeah, that's why he's 40 years old and he's the backup. Now, I'm not saying this to tell you, go bet money on Baltimore.
Yeah.
But I do have some concerns that this Texans, I don't want to use the word fraudulent. I want to say that they ran good and they took advantage of a good opportunity here. I think this is a tough game to get involved with. And then one where we can argue is the total. So you like the over.
Yep.
I like the under. So I got a couple trends going my way. The total's gone under in 6 of Houston's last 7 trips to Baltimore. Now, I know that's a 7-year trend, but it still shows.
Those terrible numbers to pull.
Why do you say that?
Because who was the quarterback of both teams, actually? Because did Lamar...
If we go back, it was Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson like 3 years ago.
For what, 1 game maybe? Because also, too, Lamar's been injured so much, I wouldn't even necessarily... you would need to check those numbers to make sure it is, in fact, Lamar. How many of those games were Davis Mills?
Okay.
I'll bet
that's fair. We can throw it out. It's just a trend. I'm saying they go under.
Yep.
Baltimore's won the last 5 times Houston traveled there. And I know it's easy to say Houston sucked, but you got to remember they also won the division title like 4 or 5 years. So when they had Deshaun, that was a good Deshaun and DeAndre Hopkins. But it's so funny how quickly we forget these dynamic duos. Do you remember how good that duo was? At the time, I was calling Hopkins the best wide receiver in the NFL.
He dropped what I think it was one pass the entire season. He dropped one pass.
Yeah. So okay. And also let's say in this game, I believe that like a Baltimore win correlates to the under. I believe a Baltimore path to victory involves their elite defense. And forgive me because I can't remember the coordinator's name off the top of my head. I believe it's McDonald, but he's done an excellent job mixing up the blitz. They have great personnel, and I know that they're missing a top corner. But look at Baltimore; they've never been healthy.
Yeah,
they've never been healthy. I mean, this team's always had injury worries, and it's because Harbaugh runs them into the ground. And you can say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that." They make the playoffs every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's done it with different quarterbacks. He did it with Flacco. He did it with Lamar. I'm not here to criticize Jim Harbaugh, but that's another argument I'd make for the under is that I don't think there's the Texans blowout is very, very low probability, right?
Yes.
Then I say we're pretty close to 50-50 on a Baltimore cover, which would be a Baltimore blowout, or a Texans cover, in which case your game goes over. So my final point would be probably because I'm leaning towards Baltimore, I see the under more because I wonder how good that offense without the secondary and third wide receiver options, right? Because we're missing Tank Dell and Noah Brown in this game. So it's going to be a heavy diet of Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. Devin Singletary's been good, but this Baltimore defense feasts against the run. Just want to make some counterpoints here.
Yes.
I'll let you go ahead and finish it off. You can dunk on me and let everyone know why they should take the Houston Texans.
Yeah. So I'll walk it backwards from your point, starting with the total. So here's the thing. Even again, if we wanted to borrow the trends against these teams, the under's hitting, but listen to these totals: 34, 49, 48, 39, 38, 56. So they were extremely high totaled games. So even though the under was hitting, we're seeing these high totals. So just wanted to throw that out there. The other thing too, so I agree that if Baltimore wins, more likely going to be an under, but I wouldn't even say automatic because you look and see, you look at the totals against Miami, San Francisco, the Rams, kind of similar type games with just good offenses. And even though Baltimore had this incredible defense that managed to keep both San Francisco and Miami to 19, these games saw plenty of points. So even if I'm completely wrong, Baltimore blows them out, I'm still liking the over. And that's if I was just going to make one play on this game, I like the over way more. So I'm going to say that. Now, as far as our boy Lamar Jackson, you said 2018 Lamar. Did you mean 19?
Yeah, probably, right? I'm just
MVP
going back
year.
to
MVP
1-3 in the playoffs, but he's so much better than he was during his first playoff appearance.
Right. So, I mean, if we're talking about his MVP year, yes, he didn't win a game or I think he might have won one. And I agree. He is progressing into a better player, a smarter quarterback. I think statistically he's actually running more, but you watch these games and you see he's a lot. He's choosing his spots a lot better, and that's probably also due to because his arm's gotten better. The defenses they're running, it's just completely dynamic, incredible player. So I give you that point. I still worry about him in these situations where he's just been like that game against San Francisco was huge. You can point to that, say Lamar in the clutch. When it matters, he's on. I got to see it in the playoffs to trust it. And that's kind of where I'm at with Stroud. And what you were doing is something we've been doing all season to the Texans of just kind of, yeah, but. They look really good. Yeah, but. And, and I'm guilty of it too. But after what I saw last weekend,
JC, get a little closer to the mic, especially when you're serving me like this.
So sorry. So, I too am guilty of the but for the Texans. But given what we saw last week, I'm done with that. I've seen what this guy can do. I already trust him more in the playoffs than I trust Lamar. And for that reason, I'm in. I'm buying, and I might be buying when the stock's at its peak. But that's where I'm at. I'm all in. And I think you're going to see C.J. Stroud, rookie quarterback extraordinaire, in the AFC Championship game.
And to your final point, I agree with you. We always talk about buy low, sell high, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, we never know when it's the bottom. We might say, oh, right, we're buying low on this team. Well, maybe not. They could be still on their way down, right? This might not be the bottom. Same thing with the Houston Texans. There's a lot of volatility here with both these wild card teams, and I'm going to use this to transition right into the next game because, number one, both teams are starting essentially rookie quarterbacks. I know Jordan Love's not a rookie, but experience-wise, I'm just going to consider him a rookie. So take that qualification for the rest of my thing. So both teams are starting rookie quarterbacks. What do we know? Who has the best chance of improve over a course of the season? A rookie, right? DeAndre Hopkins, we mentioned him earlier, was about as good week 1 as he was week 18, right? There wasn't a lot of improvement there. He is who he is. These players have the ability to improve so much. So while we say, hey, we could be, this is a good time to sell high on the Texans and the Packers, we don't know if this is their ceiling yet. And both teams, especially that Green Bay Packers offense, feels like it has so much to continue to develop, to continue to improve. Around week 5 and week 6, I came on the review shows with you, JC, and I said the Green Bay Packers would be drafting a quarterback because that's how bad Jordan Love looked. And he was missing wide open throws. You can't blame LaFleur. The guys were open. He was missing the throws. And I said, this is terrible. Well, he figured it out. They had faith in their guy. They gave him the support he needed, and he improved. And now these same exact plays that he was missing earlier in the year, not only is he making the throw, he's making it in stride, allowing his players to get yards after catch. The receivers improved. The youngest receiving corps, I don't know, in the league, I'm going off the top of my head. I know they're the youngest team in the league just by average age. Most likely the youngest receiving corps. We're going to see a lot of improvement with both of these teams throughout the season. So when you're building a statistical model, when you're using projections, how much do you factor in the level of improvement? If you go sort to week 9 on, the Green Bay Packers have the best offense in the NFL. It's not the Baltimore Ravens. It's not the San Francisco 49ers. The Green Bay Packers, since week 9, have the best EPA on a Jordan Love dropback in the NFL. So I want to use all those words I've just been saying to transition us into the evening game on Saturday night out here with me in Northern California. JC, it's going to be rainy. We don't know how to drive. If you're going to the stadium, watch out. You'll probably see a lot. You should have seen that. It was raining on New Year's Eve. You should have seen the wrecks we saw for me driving from Sacramento to San Francisco. Unbelievable here. We don't know how to do it.
Drunk drivers in the rain. That's got to be brutal.
Yeah. So it's going to be conditions that the 49ers aren't necessarily used to. And the Green Bay Packers, the Niners have taken a little money since yesterday when we talked about these games yesterday with Tyler. The line was minus 9.5. It's now minus 10, but it's juiced a little bit to the Packers side. The total is stable here at 50.5. Another game I'm not really sure what to do with. Am I shell-shocked because I doubted the Packers last week? Yes. Did I think that the Dallas Cowboys, in spite of having a statistically bad run offense all year, were going to be able to run the ball on the Packers? Yes, but they weren't able to do it. And they didn't get their offense going until they were down by so much. There was no pressure on the Packers defense, right? I'm really struggling with this game here, JC. I don't have a take at all. I'm just going to argue whatever you say. What side are you on? All right, we'll make it a good show. Choose a side, take a stand, and I'll tell you some of the reasons why I haven't got there with you yet.
Sure. I love it. So if I was into like dynamic betting, because I'm just so sure the favorites are going to be 1-1 on Saturday. So I think the smart thing for me to do with this strong opinion would be to parlay.
You mean 1-1 money line or 1-1 against the spread?
Against the spread. I'm positive. I don't know if necessarily the dog's going to. I'm not sure the Texans are going to win outright. I think they are, but they're definitely going to cover. So, I'm so strong on this. The smart thing would be to parlay San Francisco and Houston at the spread and Green Bay and Baltimore. But I'm not going to do that because I'm just going with my gut here, which says the smash spot, the favorite that's going to blow them out is San Francisco against Green Bay. However, I'm fully prepared to come on here Monday and be like, wow, Green Bay showed up. Houston looked flat. I just had it backwards. Given that, though, I'm going to give my argument for San Francisco and why I think they're the team that is going to blow out their opponent, especially given, like you said, this incredible rise we've seen of Jordan Love. And I mean, as spectacular as he looked last week, I can't get over the fact that he could only beat the Bears 17-9 in Week 18. I can't get over that defense let the Panthers put up 30 on them. So while we've seen this great performance from Jordan Love, he isn't I'm not seeing the consistency out of Green Bay I would need to see to think they can upset this powerhouse in San Francisco. So Niners have looked phenomenal all season when healthy, with the exception of that Baltimore game. So I think they're going to go in. They should have won the NFC last year. Tons of injuries held them back, but I think they got it this year. So they're going to pull up to that stadium. They don't care what the weather is. And I think they're just going to bully the Green Bay Packers into oblivion.
All right. I said I was going to argue with you, but I think this is important, and I want to give it out real quick, and then I'll go ahead and do my Packers one. Jordan Love's numbers against man and zone coverage this season. So far versus man coverage, 68.8 QBR, 23 TDs, 1 interception, 6.1 yards per attempt. Versus zone, it drops to 62.4 QBR, 8 TDs, and 10 interceptions. So obviously, we talked about rookie and their ability to improve. He's struggling to read the zones. He's nailing the man coverage. And the importance there is fighting the guys open and getting the touchdown, but mainly avoiding those turnovers, because we know, right? It's almost like why we stopped watching Fox pregame. What do they say? Well, to win the game, you're going to have to win the turnover battle. Thanks, Jimmy Johnson. They've been saying that since I started watching the NFL in 1984. Okay, so I understand you got to win the turnover battle. But that's why I'm saying this zone coverage is so important. Love did do well against the zone in the Dallas Cowboys game, though. 7 of 10 for 120 yards against Dallas. Finally, I want to mention the 49ers played the 7th highest rate of zone in the league, and they gave up, I don't know what's up with my little screenshot I made, 5 TDs with 14 interceptions playing zone this year. So that's going to be something the Packers are going to have to handle. If the 49ers zone is able to flummox Jordan Love and they get those turnovers, in my mind, the Packers have no chance. Jordan Love has shown problems against zone defense this year. Now, let me go ahead and turn it around. When I'm running these numbers and I'm getting a -10, I'm getting it because I'm using full season numbers. If you just run it from the week 9 and you move it on, you're going to get that this line should be about +6. The Packers have been excellent on the road. In fact, they average more points on the road per game than they do at home. They also have nothing to lose. They are completely free rolling. Even if they lose this game by 24 points, they head back to Green Bay. The fans are happy. We're building in the right direction. We found our guy. We're only going to continue to improve. And we just fix up that defense, because if the Packers lose by a lot, it's because the Niners are just going to run all over them. And it's why even when the Niners had worse quarterbacks, right, going against Aaron Rodgers, they were able to get all these playoff wins because they're able to run on the Packers. So I can make arguments on both sides, but I would just say if this recent Packers rise isn't a mirage, which I don't think it is. I mean, don't you think this team, it looks like a 10-win team going into next season?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's definitely been an uptick in performance, and they're trending in the right direction. And we're all going to have to deal with the fact that Green Bay has yet another franchise quarterback. We can deal with that next season, because I think their little glory road ends in San Francisco.
Yeah, but they've achieved their goals of the season.
For sure.
Coming into the season, the goals of the franchise were to see what they had in Jordan Love and ideally develop into a player they can build around. They did that. Increase their wide receivers, right? We were talking yesterday. You remember when Christian Watson dropped that opening bomb from Aaron Rodgers last year and he refused to throw it to him for like 8 games? Yes. They've developed the chemistry between wide receivers and a quarterback that are the same age. still don't like the defense. I still don't like what Joe Barry's doing with that defense. So a little bit of troubles in Green Bay land, but they're free rolling. If the 49ers lose this game, JC, it's going to be a meltdown here. I usually don't listen to talk radio, but if the 49ers lose, I will be on KMBR and the local one in Sacramento, the 49ers flagship station, just listening to the fans meltdown because it'll be great. Back in the early internet days, that was my favorite thing to do, go on to Philadelphia radio when I first found out you could listen to them. Going to Philadelphia radio after an Eagles loss. It was funnier than Rush Hour. It was funnier than a Cat Williams special. So there'll be an epic meltdown here. 49ers have all the pressure. We got to put that in out there as well. Total here is 50.5. Do you have a feeling on the total?
It just feels like an under. Like, it does not feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. I feel like that number is juiced up based on what Jordan Love did last week. But even if it's a game where the Packers are in it, that's only 25-25.
It's so weird, too, because we talk about these questions that we'll always be asking. And, JC, if we continue to do this for 20 more years, rest versus rust is always going to be a factor. And also sloppy field conditions, because I think it's going to be a sloppy field there. First of all, that Santa Clara field wasn't built very well.
No.
So weird. For being in Silicon Valley, they set it up wrong. They put one side completely in the sun rather than putting one end zone in the sun. So they got 30,000 fans in the sun instead of 5,000, which is weird. They tried to make it like noisy like Seattle, and they failed. It's not crazy noisy. And the actual turf isn't very good. But will a lot of times those sloppy conditions help the offense, because if I'm a wide receiver and you're a cornerback, I know where I'm going. You don't know where I'm going. So sometimes you could be slipping trying to keep up with me. See if that matters. Total's gone over in Green Bay's last 5 road games as well.
The weird sunlight, wasn't that an issue at Candlestick Park too?
You're thinking more of the shadows of baseball.
Okay.
Yeah. And Candlestick had a shitload of wind.
Oh, okay.
If you went to the games back in the day, if you threw a paper plane or just napkins or stuff, it was swirling around. And this would be on a normal day. It wasn't even a weird day because it was right on the bay. So it would get a ton of. It's so funny. It was in Hunter's Point. Now Hunter's Point's been rehabilitated till then, but it's so funny that this quote unquote posh crowd was in the worst neighborhoods in Northern California. So. All right, so you're saying you like the under here.
The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Yeah, that was a good joke. Who's that, Hemingway or Twain or something?
Yeah. I was trying to find the answer to Clyde's question about Shanahan versus LaFleur, but I'm coming up short.
It's got to be good. He's had a better team most of the time. Okay. While you look that up, are you ready to move on? I think this is the toughest game of the weekend, and it's probably because the Packers burned me last week. Because in my mind, I think the 49ers smash.
No, I think Sunday night's game's a lot more difficult to cap.
Well, we'll get there, but let's move on to Sunday. JC, another team that I wasn't necessarily sure that I believed in, and we mentioned this because we do the recap show. But watching that Buccaneers game, did you come away saying I need to upgrade Tampa Bay or I need to downgrade the Eagles? Because it felt like they quit on their coach and Tampa Bay took advantage of being in the right place at the right time, right?
Yeah.
Meeting the girl in the bar the night after her divorce, and she just wants to have some fun. I mean, Tampa Bay was meeting that girl in the bar, right, that was ready to do all the things that her and her husband didn't do. Tampa Bay's catching 6.5 here, totals 49. Once again, though, I don't want to underestimate this team. Let's look at this matchup. Tampa Bay should be able to score with Detroit.
Yep.
What is my major concern here? And I know I'm putting way too much into it. But earlier in the season, I can't remember the game, and I know Tyler talked me into it. I probably wasn't pounding the table for it. I probably just followed along. But he took the Lions. It was either -3 or -3.5 in Detroit against the Buccaneers, and we won 20-6. And I watched the game, and it felt like it could have been 35-6. It felt like Detroit left a bunch of points on the board, and Tampa did not. It felt like Tampa got absolutely shut down. So the arguments, how much did Tampa improve? We talk about Rookies getting better, and obviously Baker's not that much better as a player, but we can say the chemistry that between the wide receivers and the quarterback has improved over the course of the season because now they're getting to know each other. He knows where he likes the ball. They know what they're going to do in certain coverages. Just that experience is helping so much. So you could also argue that the Tampa Bay squad that's thrown in Detroit this week is a much more cohesive, well-oiled machine compared to the team that we faded earlier in the season and made an easy cash with. How do you see this game coming?
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing: that 26 victory, that was back in October. That was back at the beginning of the season when Vegas was just continually underestimating the Lions, and for the first 5 weeks of the season, the Lions were just free money. So I mean, just taking that into consideration. However, the biggest reason I was not ready to upgrade Tampa Bay after last week was number one, again, like we said, Philly. We all knew Philly was on their downfall. We knew where that was going. As for Tampa Bay, though, I don't have the stats in front of me, so it's a little anecdotal. But all season long, I was ready to jump on the Tampa Bay train. Every time it seemed like they got it together. Baker looks sharp. This team is good. They lay an egg the following week. So just due to those inconsistency problems, seeing how great they looked last week, I have no faith in them being able to maintain that. Detroit looks strong. And here's the thing. Worst case, this turns into a shootout. And when Detroit's offense is roaring, pun intended, there's no way Baker Mayfield's going to be able to keep up with that. So whether they blow them out or it's a shootout, I like Detroit. You kind of got to lean over, just given both these teams have kind of sloppy defenses, but I probably won't be putting any money there.
This game features 2 number 1 overall picks facing off against each other. This is why I say tanking doesn't matter. Arguably the 2 worst quarterbacks of the 8 remaining.
And neither of these teams drafted these quarterbacks.
Great point there. Right? So you take to trade them away. Total here is 49. This has dropped 1 point since yesterday. No, yeah, I think it was 50 yesterday. Maybe it was 49.5. It's going down. Do you agree with the line move?
Yeah, because I do. I think Tampa's going to fall short. I honestly, if I had to give a predicted score for this game, I think it's 28-13, something like that. So, I mean, I can see, obviously, it's very easy to imagine a route where we get the over. I don't see it getting there. And I think it's the most misplaced line. And given that, that probably means this game's going way over. But I'm just staying off of it personally.
Clyde asked, how are the Lions against the blitz? They actually did pretty good this season. When the Vikings blitzed, because the Vikings are the highest blitzing team in the league, I believe. I know they love to blitz. Against the Vikings, they blitzed Jared Goff on 33 dropbacks. He completed 26 passes. No. So 5 times he didn't. There must have been a sack. So he blitzed 33 times. He threw the ball 26 times. He completed 18 of them for 259 yards and 2 TDs. He also led the NFL with 1,623 yards against the blitz this season. Could be a little bit right because they played high blitzing teams, and you get 2 against the Vikings, they're the highest blitzing team. But I would say overall he's pretty good against the blitz, and that has to be the number 1 improvement that you can credit Ben Johnson with as far as his development and nurturing. That's the wrong word, right? But working with the quarterback in order to make him better, because McVay didn't do a very good job of it. And McVay was so afraid to give him the reins. And he's even said so, in hindsight. Ben Johnson's really made him confident against the blitz. And I'm personally not concerned about that. Clyde says Tampa D is better than Minnesota D.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm fine with that.
I don't know. Really? Are they that good?
Detroit's D is just horrible. And I mean, sure, you got to consider the fact that Tampa plays in the NFC South, But yeah, if I had to just simply pick one, if I'm
Okay,
playing.
here's why I don't want to get into Detroit's D being terrible. First of all, they play in a dome, which is great for the offense, but it's worse for the defense. We talk about Cleveland, right? So in my mind, like Detroit's pitching in Yankee Stadium. Do you see what I'm saying, JC?
Yeah, but it's not like they're the only team that plays in a dome. They're just simply saying weather's never a factor.
Well, I'm just saying when we're doing for the stats, we have all these teams that get weather assists, like New England, New York, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, right? All these teams, their defense is going to have better statistics.
Yeah, and especially being in that division where they all have, bad weather, being in the NFC North.
Yeah, and a lot of those teams are all offense, right? The Packers are all offense. The Bears flipped, but they became, they were trying to base on offense during the year and pretty poor defense to start. And who's the fourth team in that division? I always forget.
The Vikings.
The Vikings. Yeah, who blitz every single day, but they're in a dome.
Playing a dome.
Okay.
I'm not
Who
going to
does
lie.
Minnesota this week?
Clyde,
Clyde, you know who Minnesota would have played? They would have been in the playoffs with Kirk Cousins and get hurt. You lose your number one quarterback, see what happens. Come on.
Great question.
Everyone's victory lapping me because I had Minnesota over to start the season. And I still think that was a good bet. I got screwed.
That's a great bet.
Yeah.
They nearly won the division with having played 4 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? And good for him for trying, but that Jaron Hall thing, they should have stuck with Dobbs the whole way.
100%.
Okay. So what is your actual bet on this game, JC?
Oh, I'm already on Lions -6.5.
So you're laying it, huh?
Yeah.
Market kind of agrees with you. This open at 6, and it's not pushing back at all.
Good.
Any feel on the total?
No. I of all the totals, this is the one that I'm just got no real clue on.
All right, great. I'm fine with that too. I kind of like the under. I wonder if Tampa's going to have problems.
I would if you were giving me free money, I would take the under.
I'm going to do one thing real quick before we move on. I'm going to look up Tampa Bay off a win.
Oh, that's a great number to look up.
I don't know if they've been putting together good performances.
See if we can. I can filibuster for you because I was curious what Goff's passing numbers have been like, and see if there might be good money on a prop there. He's obviously coming out. 270.
Okay, no, so I was wrong. They ripped off a 4-game win streak in December.
Yeah, who would they play though?
It doesn't matter. The point is they're not letting down off wins. So they barely beat Carolina at home, didn't cover. They went to Atlanta, got the win as underdogs.
Oh, wow.
Then they went to Green Bay, 134-20, off 2 wins in a row. And then they went and beat Jacksonville at home. Pardon?
When was that?
I don't care about this stuff. Clyde, do you ever care about this stuff? I'm going to cap the game how I'm going to cap the game. I don't care if everyone in the world bet the same side as me.
No, because you've seen both ways, right? Like everybody was on the under in Kansas City, and that easily cashed, right? And then you see times like, everyone's going to be on San Francisco and Baltimore.
People act like the public never wins. If the public never wins, people will quit gambling.
Right.
The fact is they win at 46 to 48%, so it's enough for the sports books to make their nut, but enough for the casual gambler to get enough wins, only be down a little bit on the year, go through some nice runs, and still feel like it's an enjoyable hobby. So I'm not worried about that crap. And first of all, I don't even trust these guys. Why would they tell me the truth?
Yeah. The other thing, too, you only see these when the house wins. You only see like 70% and $7 million exchanged hands because of this huge upset. Like I said, I can't imagine how much money the public won on the under in Kansas City. I didn't see a single tweet about that. I was just following it myself to see what was going on there. You only hear when it's Vegas that's got the big payday.
Final point here. Said Vegas will eat if Pack loses by 10 plus. You know why Vegas is going to eat? -110. Yeah. -110 is why they eat, Clyde. It's not because they know more than us about sports. It's the built-in advantage. The same reason they eat on roulette.
Mm-hmm.
It's those two
Double
green
zero,
squares
baby.
make it minus 110. The same reason they eat on blackjack, because the dealer going second gives you a 48% win percentage. Now we're back to minus 110. These guys don't know it all. They have a big edge. And to make my point, I'm going to pull up the NBA playbook. Okay, we are 112 and 103 on the year, right? That means we've been right 9 more times than we've been wrong. We're only up 2.7 units, okay, because of the minus 110. So I don't want to hear Vegas is going to eat and they know more than us. Tyler, I'm sorry, JC, anything more on this Lions game before we move to the main event?
Yeah, I would just say real quick on that too. The one thing that I would like to point out is even if Vegas knew for a fact San Francisco was going to win by 16 points, they're still going to put the spread where they're going to get even money on both sides because they just want the juice.
Yeah. If they get even money on both sides, they can't lose.
Right.
They're Parker Lewis. They can't lose.
And as a huge roulette player myself, I would just like to take this moment to say double zero is the worst thing to ever happen to the table player.
Why did it only used to be 1?
Yeah, it used to just be 0. And that was like, we can deal with that. But then they brought 0.
Just like they used to pay out double on blackjack. And now it's like 6 to 5 or something stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Jeez.
Bro, when I went up, speaking of blackjack, for you degens out there that know how to count, in the Cal Neva in Reno at night on the weekends, they'll do this little lingerie deal and they just want drunk guys to sit there. But because of it, they do single deck.
Exactly
single deck.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just if you guys are in Reno and you know how to count, you can crush that.
There's probably not anymore, but like 5 years ago when I first started going to Vegas, there was a couple spots in Old Vegas that you could still get single deck blackjack. And I was going to say, like, it went so bad. We went from single deck to 5 deck to automatic shuffler.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move to the main event. Let's get ready. They should have Michael Buffer out there, right? Ready to rumble. The game that everybody wants to see. The must-see game. What are you showing on the shirt?
T-Swift, baby.
Oh, okay, cool. Bro, I borrowed my parents' car because my car was in the shop and my dad leaves it on the radio. And I actually had it muted because I listened to my stuff. But it shows you now on these new cars, they show you what the radio station is playing with the album cover and everything.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor Swift was on this little like hot mix station, like 75% of the songs.
Yeah.
And people were comparing it to Michael Jackson. I'm like, I understand now. Like, this is insane. All right, let's move on to the game, though. The Chiefs are plus 2.5. They're in Buffalo. They're taking on the Bills. The total's 45.5. Buffalo's taken a little money since yesterday because yesterday the money line was plus 127. Now it's plus 132. I'll tell you what, JC, I lean towards the Bills. This will be Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game in his career, but I can't bet against Patrick. What are you doing with this one?
I agree, man. This is by far the hardest game to handicap because Kansas City's kind of flatlined this season. Buffalo seems to be on the rise. It's in Buffalo, but how are you going to bet against Patty Mahomes in the playoffs? I hate Buffalo. Vegas is giving me the team I want to win with points. Learned my lesson last week with money lines. So 60% emotional reasons. I'm riding with KC. I'm riding with the Chiefs. I'm riding with Kelsey. I'm riding with T Swift. Josh Allen is a scrub. The Bills are a joke of an organization. And I don't care that they're the lovable losers. They are just losers. And that's what they're going to do this Sunday. It's going to be ugly. And I'm tired of this game being pumped up as the premier game simply due to history. Just because in the past we've had great matchups between these teams. The rosters that are taking the field this weekend are not the same as the ones in the past. So give me the Chiefs.
All right. So you are on the Kansas City Chiefs here. The total is 45.5. JC, this is another game where I like the under. Both defenses are real good, right? And I know the story of this game is going to be Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, but both teams have won off the strength of their defense during the year, especially the Kansas City Chiefs. Not to mention, I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. I wasn't going that hard. I was just trying to make a point.
It's a little hard.
Okay, I've been surly ever since last Sunday. Bro, do you know how embarrassing that was? 27-7 at halftime, and I'm on -7.
Hey, spread. Just be thankful you're not a Dolphins fan.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when LeBron James said 2 points isn't sometimes with more than 2 points. In that case, 2 units was more than 2 units to me because I couldn't believe how wrong I was. All right.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills here. JC, I can make good arguments for both sides of this team. Number one, the home field advantage is better. Number two, since Josh Allen added Joe Brady and got rid of Ken Dorsey, he's been playing so much better. They're taking the mistakes out. He's not force-feeding Stephon Diggs. He's moving the ball around the field, and James Cook has developed. And one thing that Brady will do is if that run is working, he's going to keep running the ball. And I think that's a big improvement on what we saw from the Bills, even under Daboll, where they were so reliant on Josh Allen to be their number one force on the ground as well. The fact that they can get these good first downs, get themselves into second and manageable, third and short, has been so big for this team. And not to mention him chunking up, and you get a first down on a run play from first down. Now, will they do that against Chiefs? I don't think so. I really like Chris Jones in the linebacker core featured by Nick Bolton. I think they will be able to stop the run. I think if Buffalo had success in this game, it will be through the air. However, it's hard to doubt Josh Allen will have success. Regardless, I do like the under here. And if I had to take a side, JC, I would join you. I would take the Chiefs money line plus 132. But the caveat being, I think this game's a true coin flip. So give me the plus money, right? This isn't some in-depth breakdown where I've said the Chiefs are going to do this against this zone defense. This player's going to come. What are some of our concerns about the Chiefs? Do they go back to having the drop seats? These guys have lit Mahomes down all year, right? If Rashee Rice doesn't have a big game, I think our bet's dead in the water. What would be some of your concerns about the Chiefs?
I mean, my concern right now is that the same argument you just made for Kansas last week.
Say it one more time. You flipped in and out there.
My concern is that you just made the same argument for the Chiefs that you did for the Rams last week and are saying to go money line.
Fair enough. Pick your poison there. Okay, I can say the same thing though. If it's a 50-50, give me
100%. And again, by that logic, you should win this one. So hopefully you will.
And to be fair, if I do win this one, then I'll be up on my 2 money line plays because I've got plus money on both.
And that this time you're taking the juice, not the house. It's the drop passes, right? It's they were able to get the job done against Miami without Kelsey, so that was definitely encouraging to see. The biggest problem for me in this one is that last week didn't help us at all. Both teams won games against opponents who shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. So that really didn't help us, and so this is really like the first round of the playoffs for these teams. So it's definitely a tough one, and there's no denying this incline that the Bills are on, and I'm worried about it. It's more the Bills' performance that concerns me more so than the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are what they are, but if Buffalo continues to ascend, our money's in trouble.
All right. Any more thoughts on this game? Are you with me with the under, or do you think this game goes over?
Yeah, everyone's going to be on the over. Everyone's expecting the shootout, and that's just not the teams that we have here. Like I said, these rosters are not those high-power offenses, so I do like the under.
Okay. Seems like we found a consensus there. All right, JC, we've gone through all these games. We're going to go sides and totals only here, no props. Give me your best bet of the weekend. You have 8 to choose from. What do you think is the very best bet to make?
Lions minus 6.5.
All right. Fair enough. I'm kind of fine fading Tampa Bay too. Like I said, that Tampa Bay game, I know Tampa played well, and you got to take advantage of the situations you're put in. But that really just felt like, boy, these Eagles, they've given up on their coach. I'm so surprised Sirianni's coming back, and I'm so surprised McCarthy's coming back. JC, were you surprised?
I was not that surprised about Sirianni.
I guess that's fair. He's 1 year away from a Super Bowl. You got to give him a shot.
I think it's a mistake, but you got to understand it. McCarthy, I was shocked about. And the biggest reason I'm shocked about anyone who keeps their coach, we've never seen a free agent market this hot for coaches. So if you're on the fence, why wouldn't you fire your coach? And who's to say they won't, right? Maybe you go secretly interview Bill Belichick, and if you can get him, then you fire McCarthy. But I mean, I can't believe it is really crazy because every year this happens. There's a handful of teams that fire their coaches, and we're like, who the heck are you going to get? A lot of guys you can get this offseason.
Yeah, I wonder if Bill reached out and said, "Bro, I'm not working for you, Jerry. You want me to come in? I run everything." And Jerry was probably like, "Well, I'll go back to my guy that I'm going to get all the credit for." It's just so crazy to me. You'd think as an older guy, Jerry would say, "I'm going to die soon. Let me get another old guy. I'm not choosing my coach for the next 30 years." Right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm really surprised about that. JC, give us your final thoughts for this weekend. And then, of course, the coveted, the beloved words of wisdom.
Yeah. Like I said, I think these are going to be great games. When we talked about this on Monday, we kind of thought this was a crappy slate of games. But the more you look at it, the more we think about it. I think there's only going to be one blowout and maybe two. And if there is two, it's probably not the game you expect it to be. I think San Francisco and Detroit could be blowouts, but I could be wrong about that, and they could all be close. High quality football. At the end of the day, we still only got 7 games of football left this season. So even if they are garbage, enjoy them anyways because it's about to be gone and you're going to miss it. And for today's words of wisdom, I got to go to the greatest songwriter of this generation. And we're going with, you got no reason to be afraid. You're on your own, kid. Yeah, you can face this.